Okay, in this video, I want to talk about Python lists. And lists are a very important data structure in Python, and they are just what they sound like. They're lists. They're a way to keep track of different items. So to create a list in Python, it's actually really easy. We just like a variable, we name it. So let's call this names. And right now, this looks just like a variable. And in fact, it sort of is a variable. It's just going to hold a list of items. So to create a list, we use these square brackets. And now inside of these brackets, we can have as many items as we want. We just separate them all with commas. So we're going to create a list of names here, and let's create some. So let's go John, let's go Tina, let's go Bob. And you'll notice I'm using double quotation marks. You could also use single, it doesn't matter at all. And let's go Tim. So here we have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Now, the fun thing about lists are they are numbered. So each of these things is a number, and lists start at 0. So John is 0. It's the 0th item of our list. Tina is the first item, Bob is the second, and Tim is the third. Now, that seems a little weird. You know, Tina is not the first. It's obviously the second item, but like I said, lists start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So to access our list, we could do it several ways. So let's just print our list to the screen. First off, let's just print out the whole thing. So print names. So let's head back over to our terminal and let's run this. And we see we get this whole list of things. And the square brackets are there and the quotation marks are all there. And that's not particularly useful. So you usually don't just call the entire list when you have a list. Instead, you call out specific items of that list. So to do that, we just reference their index number. And we do that by slapping some square brackets to the end of our variable name, our list name, and just calling out the list item. So if we want to reference John, that's the 0th item, we would just type names and then put a 0 in there. So let's save this and run it. See what that looks like. And you'll notice it just prints out John. If we want Tina, Tina is the first item. So we could save this and run it. And when we do, it prints out Tina. Right? Very cool. So lists are super useful. We're going to use these over and over again. And think about Excel. There's often, rows and columns of information and data you want to get out. Sometimes we'll use lists to pull out those items, to represent those items. So we'll grab everything from an Excel spreadsheet and we'll add it to a list, if it makes sense data-wise for that. So if we have, for instance, one column of things, we would pull out every item in that column and put it in a list. Now, a lot of times Excel data is more complicated than just single items like this. So the list isn't as useful, but sometimes it is, and it's good to know. And so that's the list. So very quickly before we end this video, we can delete things in our list. So we can call the delete function, and then we can reference names. And let's say we want to delete John. That's the 0th item. So now, if we run this, we should just see Tina, Bob, and Tim because John is being deleted. So let's save this and run it and see. Sure enough, Tina, Bob, and Tim, John is no longer there. So that's interesting. Let's get rid of that. We can change things. So if we want to change John to something else, we could just call names and then reference the thing we want to change and then set it equal to something else. So we could call James. So let's go ahead and save this and run it. And now we see James, Tina, Bob, and Tim. So that's kind of cool. Now we're putting strings in here. We could put numbers in here too. And notice there's no quotation marks. As I mentioned in the last video, we never put quotation marks around numbers. So here, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we referenced the third item, it will print out 41, hopefully. Yep, sure enough, 41, so that's cool. We can put other variables. We can go first underscore name equals John. And then instead of putting it explicitly like this, we could reference the variable in here. So now if we print out names, first name, what do you think it'll print out? Will it print out first name or will it print out John? It should print out John. And there we go. So we could put words, we could put strings, text, numbers, we could put other lists in there. So let's call this nums. And let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, instead of 41, we could put that whole list. So now this is 0, 1, 2, 3. If we reference this third item, it should be this whole list. So this is fun. And you see there's the whole list. We can then further reference things inside of this list if we want by just slapping another set of brackets on here. And let's say we want the 0th item, which is 1. We could just do it like that. If we save this and run it, it prints out 1. So lists are very, very useful. And like I said, we're probably going to use these quite a bit throughout this course as we're pulling data out of our Excel spreadsheets. They're not that complicated, but like I said, very useful and a lot of fun. So that's all for this video. And the next video, we'll look at tuples.